And the thing that I'm trying to do is take the two disciplines of space station artificial gravity and graphic statics and get them into the same block of equations. Because if you increase the diameter of a rotating object and you require that object to spin at very high rates of speed, which you have to in order to achieve 1G, you massively increase the structural loads requirements and your strength of materials and the properties of the materials.
And then also,
and you're
no longer looking at a compression problem. You're looking at
you're looking actually.
tensile strength.
Well, you're also you are looking at all those problems. You're looking at compression, torsion. What's the pull one called? Tensile strength. But there's another name for it.
I know that's close.
And both our brains are farting on that one. It's a smelly room. So you've got every form of load directional type that you have to deal with because you have a rotating body under which some of the materials are under compression, some are being twisted, some are being pulled, and some are being sheared. Okay, so
getting into tensile and torque,
and all that vocabulary, and maybe that's kind of one of the key things that I need to do is build a glossary of those terms so that I can speak specifically on the subject and be clear about what I say. The thing is there's a really, really simple function that O'Neill and von Braun overlooked, and that they are assuming the entire space station spins. And that's the biggest mistake. And they're also assuming that the entire space station can only use those areas which are at 1G, because lettuce doesn't need G. We proved this because they grew a head of lettuce on the International Space Station and an astronaut ate the leaf. Okay? So lettuce thrives in microgravity. So any process that you don't need to apply artificial gravity to, you shouldn't. Your space station should only apply artificial gravity to those functions that need it, because it's more expensive than microgravity.
Yeah, I think different rings.
Well, here's a thought.
Here's
a thought experiment to break down what you just brought up, and you're right, but you could go in the wrong direction from what you've said. Okay, you're right, but it could be misinterpreted, so I'm going to clarify. Chickens are the most popular meat product in the world. We grow more chickens by pound than any other meat product. So if we're going to send millions of people into space a year, hypothetically, you're going to want chickens. Because you have to, the economics demands that you grow it locally.
I would suggest rabbit.
Well, we're going with chickens because chickens are popular, chickens are the thing, right? And chickens are small. They're about this big, right? My hypothesis, my science question that leads, and I'm getting to the point, I really am, but there's a lot of details that are outside of normal, worldly discussion, that you have to build a bunch of stuff, is how much G does a chicken need to thrive? Chances are, because they have a circulatory system, that at least a modicum of G-force is going to help their body. But humans need 1G, or maybe even slightly more, to thrive. Because the distribution of fluids and the strength of our bones and bone density, muscle density, and eyes, those are the big three, right? Those are the problems we see with microgravity living. So 1G environments for humans is great.
Undercover as a professor, and you don't want to go back to class and teach the children.
They won't let me in because I tell them they're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. So a variable rotation chicken coop might be described as a light structure that does not compress air. It doesn't have, its own life support. It's in a room that's designed to handle it. And you could make it out of a heavy gauge welded wire frame in a kind of donut shape with chicken wire wired to it. Right? You basically make a chicken coop that's meant to spin in microgravity. And you put an electric motor on it, and you put a potentiometer on it. And you make dozens of them, and you put them on a very large hypothetical space station that doesn't rotate, that's just a big can in space. That pressurizes it takes care of the life support, circulates air, does all that, but it doesn't need microgravity, or it doesn't need gravity, right? It doesn't need artificial gravity. But inside of it, you have this testing setup where you raise, let's say the diameter of each one of these is 10 feet, all right? Or even less, maybe 5 feet. And you have 20 of them. And you load each one up with, say, 20 chickens, probably would fit in it, right? You have one that has a motor, has a potentiometer, has exactly the same design, and it's off. The chickens just float around inside because you need the control. Then you have each one set at different rotation speeds, up to and maybe slightly past 1G. You see what these different G loads do to a chicken over a lifetime. You measure every life cycle issue, bone density and everything. You put baby chicks in there, or you put you incubate the eggs. I would like to get paid for that. That would be nice. But I'd get kicked out day one. I'm sorry. I would tell people they're wrong. I'd say rude things. I might even curse. I might say hi to a nice, pretty girl and smile at her, and I would get kicked out. Oh my God. So chances are, my hypothesis is that chickens don't need as much G as humans, because their height is smaller and scaling is a thing. So under lower G, animals might get bigger because the load on their bones and things like that is less. They might get bigger, but with slightly weaker bones.
Right, but the thing is, our lifespan ain't going to be very long to begin with. So,
But this is all, it's all the set of scientific bio questions that you would have under microgravity, and how you would do life science studies in an advanced life science multi-G research facility on orbit. So that fractionalizes the whole question of how much G you need, how big of a space station you need, how you design it, how you can have an area inside that can that's 1 mile in diameter, but that's very light structure. Air flows through that structure. It doesn't matter. Your life support systems are separate than that. Your electrical systems can largely be separate. Your lighting could be separate from it. The more load items you can take out of it, and then your people live and work in it, the more reasonable it gets to consider building it.